Look who finally got the phone call, the text, the message that changed everything. You know the one I'm talking about. The one where someone who saw it all, someone who was there from the beginning, someone who had a front row seat to your entire nightmare, finally broke their silence and said those words you've been waiting years to hear. I saw everything. You were right. They lied. Oh, that moment. That beautiful, terrifying, earth-shattering moment when the truth stopped hiding and decided to put on a spotlight instead. Welcome back, or better yet, welcome to the beginning of their end. Because the second that witness opened their mouth, the second that observer decided loyalty to truth mattered more than loyalty to cowards, everything shifted. The ground beneath their lies cracked wide open, and now they're scrambling, hiding, deleting, pretending, rewriting history in real time like their lives depend on it. Because guess what? Their reputations do. For months, maybe years, you stood alone in your truth while they built empires out of fiction. And everyone believed them because they were loud, they were many, they were convincing. And you were just one voice, one story, one perspective they painted as bitter, damaged, delusional. But now there's a second voice, a third voice, a witness who wasn't supposed to talk. And suddenly their castle made of cards is caught in a hurricane, and they can't stop it. They can't control it. They can't manipulate it. Because this time the truth isn't coming from you. It's coming from someone they trusted, someone they thought would stay silent forever, someone who just became their worst nightmare. Let's get something absolutely clear right now. Because this moment, this revelation, this confirmation you've been praying for didn't happen by accident. That witness didn't wake up one random Tuesday and decide to grow a conscience. No, they watched you. They watched you survive what was designed to destroy you. They watched you carry yourself with dignity when they expected you to crumble. They watched you rebuild when they thought you'd stay broken. They watched you refuse to become the monster they tried to turn you into. And something inside them snapped. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was respect. Maybe it was the simple, undeniable fact that watching an innocent person suffer while staying silent becomes unbearable after a certain point. But here's the kicker. That witness saw everything they did too. Every manipulation, every lie, every coordinated attack, every whispered plan, every fake smile, every public betrayal disguised as concern. They were there when the group chat lit up with your name. They were there when the screenshots were edited. They were there when the narrative was crafted. They were there when your reputation was butchered in private, while they played innocent in public. And they said nothing, nothing, nothing. For so long you probably thought they never would. But silence has a weight. And eventually, that weight becomes too heavy to carry, especially when the person being crushed by lies keeps standing up. Now let's talk about what happened the moment that witness spoke up, because this is where it gets delicious. The second the truth came out, the second your side got confirmed by someone who couldn't be dismissed as biased or bitter or broken, they didn't apologize. They didn't reflect. They didn't acknowledge. No, no, no. They did what every coward does when cornered. They ran. They blocked you. They unfollowed you. They muted you. They started acting like you don't exist, like you never existed, like the past few years were a fever dream they can just pretend never happened. Isn't that fascinating? You'd think if they were truly innocent, if their version of events was truly accurate, they'd welcome the witness testimony. They'd say, "Good, let's clear this up once and for all." But instead, they scattered like roaches when the lights turn on. Because the light doesn't just reveal you anymore. It reveals them, and what it shows is ugly. It shows manipulation. It shows coordination. It shows intentional destruction of another human being's name, reputation, sanity. So now they're hiding, not from you, but from the truth, because the truth makes them the villains. And villains don't get sympathy. Villains don't get redemption arcs. Villains get exposed. And exposure is the one thing their egos can't survive. Here's what they're doing right now, in this very moment, while you're watching this. They're in damage control mode. They're having emergency conversations. They're sending private messages to mutual friends, testing the waters, seeing who still believes them, who's wavering, who might turn next. They're crafting new lies to discredit the witness, because if they can't silence the truth, they'll try to destroy its credibility. Oh, that person? They were always unstable. They're just trying to start drama. They have their own agenda. They weren't even there for the important parts. Watch them try every tactic in the narcissist playbook, every manipulation technique, every gaslighting strategy. Because they're not just defending their lies anymore, they're defending their identities. Without the lie, without the narrative that you were the problem, they have to face the fact that they were the problem, and that's a mirror they'll shatter before they look into. But here's the thing they didn't calculate. The witness didn't just speak up to you privately. No, the witness spoke up, and others heard it too. Now there's a crack in the foundation. Now there's doubt where there used to be certainty. Now people are asking questions they weren't allowed to ask before. And once people start questioning one lie, they start questioning all of them. Let me tell you what's happening in their minds right now, because I want you to understand the psychological warfare you just won without even trying. They're not ignoring you because they're over it. They're ignoring you because they're terrified. Terrified that if they engage, you'll speak. Terrified that if you speak, more witnesses will emerge. Terrified that the truth they've been burying for years will claw its way to the surface, and everyone will see what you've known all along. They're frauds. They're pretenders. They're bullies who weaponize social dynamics to destroy someone who did nothing wrong. So they're choosing the only strategy left. Pretend you don't exist. Pretend the witness doesn't exist. Pretend the truth doesn't exist. Build a new reality where this never happened, where you were never part of their lives, where the past is erased and they can start fresh with a clean slate. But here's the problem with that strategy. You can't erase a person who's still standing. You can't delete a truth that's already been spoken. You can't rewrite history when there are witnesses with receipts. They can pretend all they want, but pretending doesn't change reality. It just makes them look more guilty. And the more they hide, the louder their silence screams the truth they're desperate to suppress. You didn't need to say a word. The witness said it for you. And now, they're drowning in the consequences of their own actions, and there's no lifeboat coming. Let's dissect this beautiful moment of karma, shall we? Because what's happening right now isn't just avoidance. It's full-scale panic disguised as indifference. You see, when someone is genuinely unbothered, genuinely moved on, genuinely secure in their truth, they don't need to block, hide, or erase. They simply exist separately. But when someone is guilty, when someone knows the foundation of their story is built on quicksand, when someone realizes their carefully constructed image is about to collapse, they don't just walk away. They run. They sprint. They torch the bridge, blow up the road, and build a wall, pretending the bridge never existed in the first place. That's what you're witnessing. That's the scramble. That's the desperation of people who know, deep in their guilty little hearts, that the truth just armed itself with a megaphone, and megaphones don't whisper. For years, you were the only one telling your side. It was your word against theirs, and they had numbers, they had charisma, they had the advantage of controlling the narrative first. But now there's a second source. Now there's corroboration. Now there's evidence that you weren't crazy, weren't lying, weren't exaggerating. And that evidence didn't come from you, so they can't dismiss it the way they dismissed you. They can't call the witness bitter. They can't say the witness is obsessed. They can't use the same tactics, and that's why they're in crisis mode. Think about the layers of lies they've been maintaining. The exhausting 24/7 commitment it takes to keep a false story alive. They had to remember who they told what version to. They had to keep their story straight across multiple people. They had to perform consistency while knowing inconsistency was the truth. And you know what's hilarious? Liars always slip. Always. They contradict themselves in small ways. They over-explain. They get defensive when there's no accusation. They provide details that weren't asked for because they're trying to convince themselves as much as others. The witness saw those slips. The witness heard those contradictions. The witness watched them scramble to keep the story airtight, and every scramble was a confession. Every defensive explanation was an admission. Every time they tried too hard to make you look bad, they revealed how threatened they were by your truth. And the witness absorbed all of it, cataloged all of it, until the cognitive dissonance between what they were saying and what was real became unbearable. So when the witness finally spoke, they didn't just confirm your story. They confirmed every suspicion, every doubt, every quiet moment when someone thought, wait, that doesn't add up. Now those doubts have a voice, and that voice is dismantling everything they built. Here's what they're doing right this second. They're rewriting the narrative again, but this time, you're not even in it. They're telling people they never think about you. They're acting like the situation was minor, overblown, ancient history. They're minimizing, deflecting, pivoting to make themselves look mature and evolved, while subtly implying you're stuck in the past. I've moved on. I don't even remember what that was about. I wish them well. Oh, the audacity, the shamelessness, the cowardice wrapped in false grace. But here's the tell. If they truly moved on, they wouldn't need to announce it. If they truly didn't care, they wouldn't need to perform indifference. People who are genuinely at peace don't have to convince anyone of their peace. They just are. But people who are terrified, people who know the truth is hunting them, people who are one question away from being exposed, they perform. They overcompensate. They build altars to their own maturity, hoping everyone will respect them instead of asking the uncomfortable questions. And the witness? The witness sees through it. The witness knows the performance is desperation. The witness knows that every "I've moved on" is code for, please, don't ask me to explain what really happened because the truth makes me the villain. Now let's talk about the friends, the bystanders, the people who stayed neutral or sided with them because it was easier. Some of them are starting to feel the ground shift. Some of them are starting to realize they backed the wrong horse. Some of them are having private, quiet moments of, oh no, what if we were wrong? What if they were telling the truth? What if we participated in destroying an innocent person? And that realization is its own kind of torture, isn't it? Because if they admit you were right, they have to admit they were complicit. They have to admit they chose comfort over truth, popularity over integrity, the crowd over the individual. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So some will double down. They'll cling to the lie because the alternative is facing their own moral failure. But others will quietly drift away. They won't apologize directly, they won't make grand gestures, but they'll stop engaging with the group that lied. They'll start liking your posts again. They'll send a random, "Hey, how have you been?" as a soft probe to see if reconciliation is possible. They won't call it what it is, guilt and regret, but you'll know. You'll know because their energy changed. You'll know because the witness gave them permission to doubt. And doubt is the first crack in blind loyalty. But let's be clear about something crucial. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them the comfort of absolving their guilt. They stood by while you were crucified. They laughed at the jokes made at your expense. They participated in your isolation, whether actively or passively. And passivity in the face of injustice is still a choice. So when they come crawling back, when they try to act like we just didn't know the full story, you get to decide what happens next. You get to decide if their regret is genuine or just fear of being on the wrong side of history. You get to decide if they've earned a place in your life again, or if they're simply trying to clear their conscience at your expense. Because here's the truth they need to hear but probably won't. Your healing, your peace, your growth happened without them. You didn't need their validation to know you were right. You didn't need their apology to move forward. You survived their betrayal and built something they can't touch, and that's the ultimate power move. So whether they come back or stay gone, whether they apologize or stay silent, whether they own their complicity or rewrite themselves as innocent bystanders, it doesn't matter. You already won. The witness just made sure everyone else knows it too. Now we enter the truly poetic phase of this whole saga, watching them imprison themselves. Because that's exactly what's happening. They built a cage out of lies, locked themselves inside, and threw away the key. And now they're stuck performing a version of reality that exhausts them daily. You want to know what freedom looks like? It looks like you, who survived their worst, who carried the weight of being misunderstood, who walked through fire and came out holding truth like a torch. You're free because you don't have to remember lies. You don't have to coordinate stories. You don't have to check over your shoulder wondering when the truth will catch up. But them? They're running a marathon with no finish line. And every day they have to maintain the illusion, avoid the questions, dodge the witness, pretend you don't exist, and convince themselves they're the good guys in a story where they're objectively the villains. That's exhausting. That's a special kind of self-inflicted suffering. And the beautiful irony? They did this to themselves. Every lie they told added another bar to their cage. Every person they manipulated became another lock. Every time they chose deception over honesty, they made their prison smaller, tighter, more suffocating. And now the witness confirmed it all, and the walls are closing in. Let me paint you a picture of their daily existence now. They wake up and check social media, not for connection, but for damage control. They scroll looking for your name, looking for the witness's name, looking for any sign that the truth is spreading. They monitor who's liking your posts, who's commenting, who's still in their corner, and who might be wavering. They have group chats dedicated to maintaining the narrative, where they coach each other on what to say if someone asks, how to deflect, how to discredit, how to survive. They can't have authentic relationships anymore because every new person they meet is a potential threat. Someone who might ask the wrong question, someone who might know you, someone who might hear your side and see through theirs. So they keep people at arm's length, or they only befriend people who don't know the history, people they can feed a sanitized version to without fear of contradiction. That's not living. That's performing. That's waking up every day and putting on a mask so heavy it leaves indentations on their soul. And for what? To avoid admitting they were wrong? To protect an ego that's already fractured beyond repair? To maintain a reputation built on the rubble of someone else's peace? The cost is too high, but they're too proud to stop paying it. Here's the thing about truth. It doesn't need maintenance. It doesn't require updates, edits, or coordination. It just is. But lies? Lies are high maintenance. Lies need constant feeding, constant protection, constant reinforcement. And the bigger the lie, the more exhausting the upkeep. They're living in a house of cards in a wind tunnel, and every day they have to run around making sure none of the cards blow away while you're standing on solid ground watching the chaos unfold. The witness didn't just confirm your truth, they confirmed their nightmare. Because now there's documentation. Now there's testimony. Now there's a record that can't be erased, deleted, or rewritten. And that record will outlive their denials. It'll outlive their blocks. It'll outlive their pretending. Years from now, when someone new enters their circle and asks, "Hey, what happened with that situation I heard about?" the witness's words will resurface. The truth will resurface. And they'll have to relive this panic all over again, or finally admit defeat and own what they did. But we both know which one they'll choose, don't we? They'll choose the lie. They'll choose the performance. They'll choose the exhausting, soul-draining, sanity-eroding path of pretending. Because the alternative, the truth, the accountability, requires something they don't have: courage. Let's talk about what they lost in all this, because I want you to understand the true cost of their choices. They didn't just lose you. They lost the version of themselves that could have been decent. They lost the opportunity to grow, to learn, to become better humans. They lost the chance to look in the mirror and see someone honorable. Instead, they see someone who destroyed an innocent person to protect their own image. And that image? It's crumbling anyway. They lost trust, even from their own circle, because anyone with half a brain can see through the inconsistencies. They lost peace, because peace doesn't coexist with guilt. They lost authenticity, because they can't be real with anyone when their entire existence is a performance. And most devastatingly, they lost the ability to connect deeply with others, because deep connection requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires truth, and truth is the one thing they can't afford. So they're surrounded by people but utterly alone. They're popular but profoundly empty. They're smiling but secretly screaming. And that isolation, that self-imposed exile from authenticity, that's a punishment more brutal than anything you could have inflicted. You didn't have to destroy them. They destroyed themselves. You just survived long enough to watch it happen. And now that the witness spoke, they're facing a new level of hell, the fear that more will come forward, because witnesses rarely travel alone. If one person saw everything and finally spoke, chances are others saw it too. Others who stayed quiet out of fear, out of loyalty, out of not wanting to get involved. But the first witness breaking silence is like the first domino falling. It gives others permission. It shows them it's safe to tell the truth. It proves that standing up to the lie won't destroy them. So now your former tormentors are living in paranoid anticipation, wondering who's next. Who else saw? Who else knows? Who else is tired of carrying their secrets? They're looking at everyone in their circle with suspicion now, wondering if today's loyal friend is tomorrow's whistleblower. And that paranoia? That's justice. That's karma. That's the universe saying, you wanted to make someone's life hell? Welcome to your own. They can't trust anyone fully because trust requires honesty. And honesty is the foundation they burn to the ground. So they're stuck in a cycle of suspicion, fear, and isolation of their own creation, while you're free, you're validated, you're vindicated. And you didn't have to lift a finger. The truth did the heavy lifting, the witness did the exposing, and they did the self-destructing. Beautiful, isn't it?